Hey guys, this is Darren Benton again with Performance Motorcoaches out in Texas. We always have high hopes of coming in doing these videos after we're being on the road for a day or two, bringing back a unit. We always seem to do about 7 or 8 o'clock when we have to leave town the very next day. So here we are, going to highlight a used unit. This unit's pretty unique in that we've already sold this unit once. Sold it to a guy. He kept it in Denver, flew back and forth into Denver, cruised up in the mountains, and then he would go back to Indiana. Had a unique situation arise, and he had to sell it really quickly, so he picked it up over the weekend, brought it back. So this is a 2014 F-550 with a Global Expedition package on it. So smaller company in Springfield, Missouri. We don't sell those things new. They are dealered, or they are manufactured direct. But we've had some of these units in the past. Pretty comparable unit to say Earth Roamers out of upper northern Denver area, but kind of a competing product. There's some pretty unique things about this. There's some things that, obviously could have a little bit of improvement, but it is what it is. It is 2014, very well kept. I bought it from the original owner. The original owner was definitely a diehard. He took this unit basically all over the country. I think he went down to South America a time or two. Bought it with about 60,000 miles. It's got about 68,000 miles on it right now. Purchased it back right about 600-800 miles ago. So had a little bit of time to bring it back here, get it cleaned up, and do a little video on it. So go back to chassis itself. So 550, this does have a 6-inch Fab Tech lift on it. The original customer did all the work to it as far as the lift goes. In fact, I want to say that he actually delivered 2 or 3 of the Global X's overseas for the company there. So kind of a unique history. I feel like pretty well kept, but it's still at the same time used. You'll see some we call them Texas pinstripes from trees, but you'll see some of the scratches on it. We've not buffed it, we've not polished it, but it's a very good, solid unit. Like I said, 68,000 miles, no longer in warranty, but has a lot of wow factor. When we had it a year ago, we put some leather seats in it, we upgraded the stereo, did some additional camera work to it. Really nothing conversion-wise, and there really hasn't been anything changed. We'll get to the inside as far as a few different aspects inside. I believe this is a buck stop front bumper, and I believe that the single wheel conversions are all from buck stop as well. You can see the big cutout right here, and I'm 99% positive that is buck stop unless someone's knocking it off. But cool setup. Now, as far as the ride factor, does have a little bit to be desired. We've used it last year, several trips, and we used it over Christmas. So it does kind of hold a special little place for us here. But everything is for sale, and the show must go on. But cool setup. Really can't think of anything other than just ride quality. It's a really short wheelbase, but as far as like running any kind of switchbacks or anything like that, this will basically get around almost anywhere where you could get in a Jeep. But just due to the fact of that shorter wheelbase, highway speeds, 65, 70 mile an hour highway speeds, don't buy this thing with intentions of going back and forth from Denver to Florida, once a week. It's not built for extreme highway use. It's built to be taken off-road, built to be a smaller, compact unit, fun unit to be able to be in Colorado and New Mexico, be able to bebop around, go on any trails you want to go, still have a really nice place to stay, really nice place to sleep, and of course shower. It's a big deal for me. We'll kind of walk around a little bit. All this is all converted from Global Expedition there. Does have a little small pass-through right there. A lot of the components are from overseas, like the windows, the door. My understanding is the entire box is purchased and then assembled all there in Missouri. But you can see here, it's a little bit, like I said, a little bit shorter wheelbase right here. And you can sit here and do donuts all day long just in a really, really small environment. But kind of, the cool factor to me is the entry door, all the windows, a little garage back here. Pretty cool setup. Little drawer here, little outdoor fridge freezer right there. This is a heated compartment right here, so if you need to have things in there, you need to keep out of the elements, not a problem there. But definitely a nice little setup here. Really couldn't put any kind of bikes or anything, but small tools, maybe inflatable kayak. you could all stick back in this guy. Come around back. Does have a spare tire. Spare tire will probably get you to the tire store. There's a little bit of tread lift on there, but nothing wild and crazy. The hit setup, it does have the backup camera set up there. That could be removed, but there again, because of the short wheelbase, because of the small unit, I really wouldn't recommend doing any kind of real towing with this. But if you need to do some kind of small rack on the back for a motorcycle, some extra toys, it wouldn't be a big deal there. Oddly enough, when we first got the unit, I thought it was a little odd that it just had like a little small window mount AC unit, but it does a great job. We were in it, like I said, last summer for 10 days, left the dogs in there, easily run the inverter 24/7 with the, I believe this has 500 amp hour lithiums on it. There's two 250s in there. Had no problem running the entire time, which was there again a really cool aspect to be able to go leave the rig and not have to worry about coming back to kind of dead batteries. And that little guy actually does a phenomenal job to close all your windows, close all of your window shades. No problem keeping it in the 60s in there, even in like 90+ degree weather. So over to this guy. This is just kind of the reverse side of this. A little bit more access. Does have a little, if you want to do your outdoor showers, boom, right there. Be able to pull that guy out. So I can close this back up. This does have the factory fuel tanks. I believe it's a 42-gallon aft axle and then either 17 or 19 midship tank. So a fair amount of fuel. We averaged about 10 miles a gallon over the weekend, bring it in from Denver, kind of making our way through. So fuel tank there. You can just do a regular gravity fill right there. It had some water in it. We stayed in it, we camped in it, we showered in it. The nice thing about the regular gravity fill is if you're out somewhere and just have a really chintzy little garden hose, you can take and fill it up without having to use a threaded garden hose right there. 30 amp short cord right there. There again, unless you're parked this thing for a great lengths of time, or like you're utilizing it just in storage, you really don't even have to worry about plugging it in. It will keep batteries charged, no problem. Little cassette toilet right there. Makes it really easy. If you need to be able to take that to like a latrine out in the open or out in the forest or whatever, you could take that. I've heard of people taking these things into like public restrooms and dumping them down. I've never done it, but it does afford you the opportunity to be able to do that, be able to take your cartridge toilet wherever you might need. I think it's about a 20-something gallon gray water tank. There is a release between the seats to be able to release it if you needed to be able to release it just on the go or whatever. This does have a unique system in that part of your heated coolant from your engine basically goes on the back side of this compartment right here, where it goes between your gray water and your battery compartment right here, so we'll keep that thing warm in really, really cold environments. And there are little shut-off valves to not, don't necessarily know why you need to do that. If you were just in really warm weather, you didn't need to run all that heated coolant next to your gray water and the batteries themselves. Does have ports on either side. I missed the other one, but to be able to air your tires back up. Me being a neat freak, what I like about it is we set it up with like a little air blower, and when we get the unit, we can take and kind of blow the seats out, kind of get the cab cleaned back up. So XL, it does have cruise control, nothing wild and crazy, no heated seats, anything like that, just manual, but very utilitarian. Pretty cool light setups along the top. They use all the factory auxiliary switches from Ford there, so nice clean install. Has some additional storage up there and then some jerry cans there as well. I think this is a 12,000-pound winch up front here. There again, nice lights there and right there. Rigid lights top and bottom. A little unique because it is such a small little environment. It's a nice little wet bath right there. There again, we're outside here at the dealership at night. We just went ahead and opened everything up. But nice setup there. Basically, you got some teak cabinets and then some teak flooring down there. Cartridge toilet will take and turn around as well. All these will have either a screen there, and then black. Let me open up this, or close this guy. So if you want to sleep all day or just be able to keep the heat out, not a problem to be able to do that. There's actually 2 of these in 2 different locations, and the regular manual lifts, a lot of those that were automatic had some problems, had some issues. This is probably one of the coolest features. We did a little concert last year, Robert King concert in New Mexico. Couldn't have asked. Being in Mexico, it was very isolated, socially distant concerts. Here we are, concert, snow cone window, raise it up, and we just sat there and watched the entire concert. So that's cool, pretty cool attribute to be able to bring the more of the outside in. Shocks probably haven't been lifted up. So there again, you can do either the sunshade or the buck screen, or you can do the nightshade. Actually, I take that back. So I guess theoretically the idea back behind night would just be to simply close it. So come nighttime, gotta get this stuff out of the way, you just basically close it there, make sure, and that would be nighttime. I think there's a lot of wow factor to that, to be able to open that up and be able to bring some of that, not slam on the window, but to kind of bring some of that. Convertible dinette here. One thing that I was super proud of, and the previous owner was super proud of, there wasn't a single scratch in this table. This table was brand spanking new. We kept it covered, kept the dogs off of it, and the last owner unfortunately let some scratches. So we'll see if we can't get that buffed out. But that was, the previous owner was so excited about it, and we were so excited about it too, that the table was spotless, immaculate, not a single scratch on it. But it is what it is. It's getting on, I guess we're running upon 7 years old, so just a part of it. But this is convertible, so if you need to put a kid down here, or if you had 2 guys, going out hunting, you could scooch down on this. Pretty cool stuff. I think you just take this. These guys right here, they really did an excellent job trying to utilize every single square inch inside of this rig. So basically these doors will pull out, and then you have a drawer bank down below there. So there's really not a single square inch that's not utilized of some type of storage here. All your water tank, and of course that garage is underneath here. But you can see all the upper storage all the way across. It does have a flip down DVD player in case you need to pull out your Goonies CDs or DVDs. That's the access, or that's the little air conditioner right back there. Like I said, I think it's about an 8,000 BTU, but it will do a phenomenal job. Come wintertime, there's a little cover that goes around it, and you can see they just took and utilized one of the spots for the one of the window locations for that. Little stereo there. Again, nice little reading lights. So even though this is just, I believe this is 80 inch long, 60 inches wide. Not a problem for us, because one person can obviously go all the way against. So if you're used to a larger bed, coming down to a corner bed like that, it's not too much of an issue unless you're having to make it. So luckily I haven't had to make it, but it's kind of a challenge to get around all the corners. But there again, it's a pretty small environment. It does have the Webasto heater, so it's an air heater and a water heater itself. Nice thing about this, it does have a winterization mode, so where you can dump the water in the unit. If you were really cold environments, didn't want to have to run that unit. Very, very user friendly. It is in Celsius, so you might have to do a little bit of a little bit of Google devising, but very reliable unit. Works well. I think we used it one time when it was pretty heavily snowing last year. Before we sold it, we kept it basically up until I guess March last year. So it did a good job keeping the coach nice and warm even in snowy cold environments, and then be able to take a nice hot shower as well. So nice little sink here, right here. This is actually a sink that they took and cut up to be able to utilize more counter space underneath. So you kind of use it as a drying rack there. Right there. We did add, because there really wasn't a good 110 outlet here, so we added a 110 outlet last year underneath there. I thought that was much needed. But there again, good storage here. So the Frigo drawer fridges, we've not cleaned those guys yet, but let's see if we can't get those things cleaned up tomorrow. But they are solely a fridge. They're not in kind of a freezer, but a fair amount of room without taking up a fair amount of room. So you can put lots of drinks, fresh food, and whatnot. There again, the owner went back in there and did a little cooling fan back behind there, so it's thermostatically controlled. Kind of get those 12-volt compressor fridges to work a little bit more efficiently. That's kind of the cool thing about this. You knew that the previous owner really cared and tried to do those little things as he owned it throughout the years to try to make sure that there weren't any potential problems. So we come back here, little big closet right there. It's a little it does have the Wii Boost cell phone booster there, and that does work. Basically we could turn that on out in the middle of nowhere, and we went from not having cell phone coverage to having cell phone coverage. As far as powering the unit itself, there's a little 3,000 watt Outback inverter. So it'll do a great job. I do have the solar controller right there, and I think there are two 320 watt panels up top. There again, not any areas of concern or batteries. But everything is a nice clean setup. You can kind of tell the previous owner was pretty OCD. He had all his little spots for his keys and everything. And there is a little cooling fan back in there as well. I'm going to take and close this. So they had this, I'm certain, because they let their dogs go back and forth, and then that will take and roll down and cover that. So, if you wanted the dogs to be able to go back and forth at any point in time, but be able to isolate that area, that'll roll down that right there. And the Outback inverter controller is right there, as long as with your freshwater tank indicator and your gray water tank indicator. And oddly enough, the customer installed an alarm on it, and it's a residential alarm, and it does work. I mean, it's basically any kind of motion inside, and then any kind of access into the rear portion of that garage, it will fire off, and there's a little siren underneath it. It's extremely loud, but it's just kind of unique that he used a home alarm. It works fine. It was kind of a quirky thing, but about the only thing that I don't recall the exact name. Post that in the comments, but cool unit. You're there again, it's for sale, but definitely want to be able to use it as much as we can going into the fall. But we welcome any questions. Keep in mind, for people that want to finance something like this, it's definitely going to be a bit more difficult to finance a unique toy like this. It's not an NADA guide. There's only a handful of banks that will touch this, so I would say pretty much cash buyers will need to come to the front of the line first. But like I said, lots of wow factor, lots of cool factor. We've used all kinds of stuff throughout the years, and you drive down the road in this, and this gets more stairs than $1 million bus. But it's a little bit more unique and very utilitarian. And the fact, like I said, that you can drive this thing most anywhere. You can leave the unit, run the air conditioner, and you have 100 gallons of fresh water. I think we stayed out about 10 days that first time, and we were able to utilize all the water here and be able to be totally independent of RV parks. And that's what most people are looking for, is to not have to rely on your power, water. So that's a pretty cool attribute about this. If you guys got any questions, let us know. Lots of stuff I'm sitting there trying to kind of rack my brain about, anything that we might have forgotten. But drop us a line, let us know if you have any questions about anything. We'll try to help out where we can. Really doesn't need anything. We'll run it through the diesel shop, make sure everything go on it. We'll get everything top to bottom cleaned up. Probably not going to buff it. We're going to leave the natural scratches and some of its history kind of show for the next owner on down the line. But cool setup. Make sure you guys like, tag, subscribe. We appreciate you guys always checking out the videos. Thanks a lot.